The United States, precluding to World War III and global war, needs to put Iron Dome over every single city, precursor to World War III. The Iron Dome could shoot down 90% of the nuclear warheads that hit the United States. The Iron Dome would work on all the United States cities and also its strategic targets. That being the case, the strategic targets would actually technically be a precursor to Lights Out. If Iron Dome was to be put into place, then it would be able to, say, New York City, Washington, D.C., also as well as other strategic parts, say also Cheyenne Mountain, or other areas where the Colorado and Montana and Wyoming missile ranges are at. Iron Dome would be a perfect perspective when it comes to all the major cities like Chicago, Minneapolis, and St. Paul, Detroit. All the major manufacturing areas should have the Iron Dome put into effect during Cold War II, if it was to come into effect. This being the case, not only Iron Dome, but also to have on ready standby reserve all forces in the United States, Navy, Air Force, Marine Corps. Why put 90% of our troops overseas when we need to call back our ready reserves in case of a deployment where the United States is put under attack on a ground war scale? There are two wars that could happen. Two. One could be a ground war. Ground war could happen, and they could try to invade the United States and take our, well, China's already wanting to invade anyways. They're wanting our lands, they want our population status with our buildings and our cities, how we create our urban hemisphere. When I mean urban hemisphere, I mean our urban style of living where we can have houses out in the county and country and not be overpopulated. We are the one country that would sustain partially China. And Russia could do so also. Russia's overpopulated Moscow. But what I'm saying is that the Iron Dome should be placed at major strategic points in the United States. That being the case, that things could happen and shit could hit the fan and boom, 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 boom. All the EMPs could hit. But if you was to have the Iron Dome and you hit, say, a precursor trigger by about 3 minutes, 3 minutes, you could stop the EMPs from hitting. If you was to extend the burners on the rockets by about 3 to 5 minutes and put that extra 5 to 10% fuel in their capacity, and you could be able to stop an EMP cursor. Most Iron Dome rockets are to hit the altitude when actually the EMPs are selected to burst at that altitude. That being the case, it would be a hop, a skip, and a jump for the EMPs to kaboom and set off. That being the case, all EMPs and extracurricular nukes that will be able to be stopped if we had the Iron Dome in every city. I'm not saying your little small towns. That's your farmers' towns. That's where the crops come from. That's where you need the modular surface or air missile Iron Dome. You need to have a Iron Dome that stops your factories and not stops factories, but to stop the EMPs coming to the factory areas and the place of rebuilding. That being the case, we would be able to rebuild our country. We would be able to rebuild a war stance that would be stronger than, say, the like the regrade of when Russia was fighting Germany. If you remember back then, Russia and Germany are fighting. Well, actually, after the post-war, after at Leningrad and Stalingrad, they were able to rebuild their country, even though it was the fall of USSR. Those factories were producing weapons and ammunition and stuff. We would be doing that, producing weapons, farm machinery, military weapons, to do so.